Hey, welcome back to another Facebook Live, going live exclusively inside our Blue Light Facebook group. So in this video, in this live, I'm going to talk about the values that aren't mentioned in this. Like, you won't find them in this. You won't find them in the Competency and Values Framework, but these are the sort of values which make all the difference. Like the sort of values that Sir Robert Peel, the founder of the British Police Service, set out in the Peelian Principles in 1829. So this is going to be really, really valuable for you in how you prepare for answers around values. Now, in the online assessment centre, you've got things like public service. I'll just look at our handy guide here of the possible questions that you could get. We've got public service, and we've got respect and empathy, and we've also got courage. So all of the values are being asked about in the online assessment centre. We've got courage, public service, and respect and empathy. Now, if you're asked a question around what values are important to the police service, now you're not going to get this in the online assessment centre, but in your final interview, you may well get asked questions about what values are important to the police service and why, or what values are important to you and why. Now, what they don't want is, they don't want your answer to be like a recital of this. They don't want you saying, oh yeah, there's three values that are really important. There's respect and empathy, there's public service, and then there's courage. And what these mean are blah, 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 blah. It's not a test like you get at school or college where they're testing your ability to regurgitate information. What they want is your understanding of what values are important. And I was kind of reminded of this in a call I had this afternoon with a potential client, someone who I'm hoping they're going to join our academy program because they're absolutely awesome. And I think it's going to benefit them hugely. Discovery calls, by the way, this is what we do to ascertain whether someone's a good fit for our academy, and they get to work out whether we're a good fit for them. It's got to work both ways. So, and then we'll look to onboard them into the academy program. At this very time, at this moment in time, as I'm recording this live, one of our coaches, I can't remember who it is this evening. I think it might be Jane. I lose track sometimes about who's running which webinar, but we're running an online assessment centre live at this moment in time, and recordings will be available for everyone who didn't manage to attend. And then there's all the one-to-one coaching, everything that you need so we can actually guarantee the result for you. If you want to find out more, just ask me in the comments below or send me a message. Anyway, so I was on a call this afternoon with a potential client, and we started talking about, I go off at tangents all the time. Those of you know me know that I'm always going off at tangents. And we started talking about the values important to police officers. Now, I was reminded of how some of these values are actually legislated for. Did you know that? Did you know that the values are actually legislated for? And some of you may be saying, but the CVF's not legislation. And you'd be right. But some of you may be thinking, yeah, code of ethics. So things like respect is in code of ethics, and things like courage is similar to integrity that's in the code of ethics, and the code of ethics is legislation. So yeah, it's been legislated for. Yeah, not the first time though. Code of ethics came out in, was it 2016? Might have been earlier, might have been 2014. Not quite sure exactly when it came out, but it's not the first time that the police service has had legislation applied around values. So some of you may be familiar with something called the Police and Criminal Evidence Act, and this is going somewhere, by the way. This is definitely going somewhere, by the way. So some of you will be aware of the Police and Criminal Evidence Act, which tells police officers how to behave and how to deal with people, especially who are under arrest or being stopped and searched. And things like identification parades and things like that. So really, really important piece of legislation. It's been knocking around since 1986, the 1st of January 1986. How do I know that? I was there. I was the first PACE intake at the District Training Centre. It was Police and Criminal Evidence Act 1984. I was there. When it went live on the 1st of January, it replaced the judge's rules. It went live on the 1st of January, and I was there. So I know the very beginning of PACE because I was there at the very beginning. It's a bit weird. So as a student officer, everyone's approaching me for advice, and I'm thinking, it shouldn't be like this. Why is everyone approaching me for advice? I didn't know until the 1st of January that there was something called judge's rules that had just been just been disappeared. So whilst we were going through our training, they didn't tell us that this was like brand spanking new. We should have worked that out, but anyway, we didn't. I was 20, so that's my excuse. So 2012, the Police and Criminal and Evidence Act is amended, and it's Code G that's amended, and Code G tells us how we need to treat people when they're arrested and how we need to treat people when we stop and search them. And it's really specific. If you look at the first paragraph of Code G of PACE, it was amended in 2012 to say that when you arrest someone for an offence, you must treat them in the following ways. And I'm not sure if I'm getting this word for word, but these next bits are 4 things. You must treat them with respect. You must treat them responsibly. You must treat them fairly. And you must treat them without unlawful discrimination. So this is like really weird legislation, because it's the only legislation I'm aware of that's telling you not to do something that's already unlawful, because unlawful discrimination is already unlawful. So it's like, seriously, we mean it this time, don't do it. Just don't do it. And so for that reason, I think it's interesting legislation. Now, you should be aware of stuff like this. You should be well read about things like this if you want to join the police, especially if you want to be a detective. Now, we've got this sort of, respect, fairly, responsibly, without unlawful discrimination. And you probably worked out, respect's one of the values. Yeah, respect and empathy and fairness. Oh, wait a minute. That's not one of the values. But it is. The thing is, it is. A sense of fairness is something that's at the heart of British policing. You'll approach every situation fairly. And just because you can arrest someone, or you can stop and search them, or you can report them for summons, or you can take some kind of enforcement action, doesn't mean to say you have to. Fairness comes into it. What seems fair and reasonable? So I want you thinking about those values, what they mean to you, what they would mean to the police service. And in our academy program, we go deep into things like this. I mean, tomorrow night in the Ask Brendan Anything webinar, which is just for our academy members, I'm going to go deep on this. We're going to start talking deep about values and which ones are important and why. And we're going to link them into the Pelian principles with things like the principle of friendship. What does friendship mean in a policing context? It doesn't mean Christmas cards. It doesn't mean birthday cards. It doesn't mean inviting you for Sunday dinner. No, that's not what it means. It means something completely different. But we're going to contextualize the Pelian principles in respect of the values that are important to policing. And so you see how we're steering away from just like CVF answers. By the way, it's not just enough just to say, oh yeah, fairness is important as well. Yeah, what does that mean in a policing context? How do you link that in with, how do you contextualize it with what's going on in policing at this current time? Why was it legislated for in 2012? What was going on before that? So why do we need to legislate for it? Why do we need to legislate for fairness? Why do we need to legislate for respect? I mean, surely that's a core human value that police officers should absolutely demonstrate all the time. Well, the reason why legislation's made isn't because they're bored. It's like summer recess and they're bored. Let's them invent some new legislation. Quite frankly, it's because in 2012, the legislators were probably getting a little bit sick of the police, not all, but some of them, not respecting people, not treating them fairly, not treating them responsibly, and treating them in a discriminatory way. So they legislated for it. But a lot of police officers don't even know that that's legislation. If you're a serving police officer listening to this, just wait. If I was a defence barrister and you were in court and there was a slightest sniff that you treated my client unfairly, you know what question I'd be asking you, don't you? You need to be ready for this. I'd be asking you the question. So, officer, of course you're familiar with the Police and Criminal Evidence Act. Yes, Your Honour. Okay, great, awesome. More than familiar, I'd hope that you actually know it and understand it, because you're applying the principles of it every time you arrest someone, like my client. Is that not the case, officer? Yes, Your Honour. All right, great. Tell me the 4 ways that you should treat someone, not just should, but must treat someone, according to paragraph 1 of Code G of the Police and Criminal Evidence Act, as amended in 2012. And I know if a lot of police officers were asked that question, they'd just go, respect and empathy, with courage, with public service. Like they just like start reciting what's in the CVF. And that's not the answer. So as soon as you don't deliver the answer, I'm just going to turn around to the jury and just go, Your Honour, it would seem as though our officer who arrested my client, who I believe was treated in a discriminatory way because of, and was treated unfairly because of, and was disrespected by some of the officers dealing with him, and in that respect was not dealt with responsibly. This officer doesn't even know that that legislation exists and tells him that he should have treated my client in those 4 ways. What else can we doubt about this officer's evidence? I wonder, officer, what else was missing in the way you treated my client? And I'm just going to dive deep now. I'm just going to like run circles around you. And you are going to be stood there thinking, I do not want to be here. I wish I'd listened to Brendan when he talked to me about Code G and the 4 ways that we must treat people when we arrest them or stop and search them, and all the other things that they're just going to go for. Because once they get a sniff that you don't know your legislation, they're going to go for it. And it's not because of anything to do with unfairness. It's because you don't know the law and you're applying the law as a crown servant of His Majesty, and you're applying the law and you're taking away people's freedom and you don't know your law. So you need to know your legislation, folks, and it's serious. And this is why someone asked a question in the Facebook group earlier, is the training hard? Yeah, it's hard. It's tough. You've got a ton of legislation to learn, and you've got to know how to apply it, and you've got to know how to be accountable for it, especially in front of one of His Majesty's juries. Full stop. Like, there's no way around that, folks. You've just got to know your law. And if you're not prepared to learn your legislation and know your law when you're applying it and be prepared to account for it, then you're going to have a difficult time in the box. Whereas the other alternative is the officer who goes, yes, Your Honour, yes, the 4 ways that someone should be, no, actually, I'll correct myself, Your Honour, must be treated according to paragraph 1, Code G, as amended in 2012, is with respect, fairly, responsibly, and without unlawful discrimination. And if you like, Your Honour, I will continue to answer this question by describing how exactly I treated the person arrested in those ways, and then you'll launch into it. I can guarantee the next question, the next comment made by the defence barrister will be, no further questions, Your Honour, because they want you out. You're too convincing, you're too compelling. The jury are just nodding away, just going, yes, this is exactly the sort of police officer we want on our streets. You see the difference? Anyway, I've gone off on a massive tangent, but hopefully there's a lesson for you there. I mean, I was super obsessive about knowing my law. I was super obsessive about making sure that when I implemented it, at any point, if anyone questioned me, whether it's my sergeant or a fellow officer or a member of the public or the person being arrested, I could explain exactly why I was using that legislation, what the legislation was, and how it enabled me to take the actions I'm taking. Seems reasonable to me, but I was obsessive about it. And guess what? I appeared in Crown Court a lot of times. I was never in the box for more than 15 minutes. I was always out really quickly. Why? I was too convincing. I knew it and I loved it. I'd see the jury nodding away and thinking, yeah, you smart aleck barristers here, you think you've got me here. You think I'm just sort of lowly, some kind of lowly 22-year-old constable. Well, back at you. Back at you. It was like this game of legal chess. I loved it. And I was like, no further questions. I'd be thinking, no, ask me more questions, please do. I'd love this. I'd love to answer more of your questions, but they'd be like, no, out you go. So there you go. And a little policing life lesson for you there, hopefully useful. Let me know in the comments, by the way. Like I've gone off at a big tangent here. This is. I know I'm talking about the values that aren't mentioned in the CVF, but let me know in the comments, is this making sense? Especially if you're a serving police officer and you're thinking one day I've got to go to Crown Court, or you've been to Crown Court and you've had that grilling, or you're one of our clients and you've listened to my advice before and you've known your law so that you can back out your defence barrister. Jury, they're nodding away. This is the sort of officer we want on our streets. And actually, you're not just doing it for Crown Court, you're doing it because it's absolutely the right thing to do. If any police officer stopped me and asked me to do something, I wouldn't be bloody minded. I'd just say, are you requiring me to do it or requesting me to do it? Could you just move away, please? Do I have to? What legislation are you using to direct me to leave? And I know a lot of police officers just won't be able to do it. Now, I won't be doing it just to be bloody minded. Well, I might be. But look, I enjoy my freedom. I enjoy my freedom to be able to move around this country without having to identify myself. So there's the other thing, misconception in policing. If a police officer asks you your name, you've got to give it. No, you don't. Can I just have your name, please? No. Could you just stop, please? No. If you're going to use Section 1 of the Police and Criminal Evidence Act and stop and search me, then yeah. Or if you're going to use any other legislation, then yes. But if you're not, then goodbye, I'm going. I don't have to speak to a police officer. I'm a member of the public now. And I'm not being bloody minded. It's just that's the right that I have in this country. And it's the right you need to respect in other people, with other people. So it goes back to that respect and fairness and responsibility. So that's kind of what it means. It's kind of what it means. Do you respect that person's freedom? Because when you're stopping them or arresting them, you're taking away their freedom. And that's a big deal. That's a really, really big deal. Anyway, let's move on, shall we? I've gone off at a few side tangents there. Hopefully useful for you. Let me know in the comments. So, right, the values that aren't actually mentioned, there's more. So there's something I used to talk about with my team, and this paid huge dividends, massive dividends. You wouldn't believe the dividends that this paid. So as well as those 4 things that we had to treat people by the time I'd retired in 2011, that legislation hadn't even happened. So, no, was it 2013? When did I retire? Anyway, whatever it was either just been introduced or it hadn't. I can't remember when I retired. That's a sign of getting old, isn't it? So, but anyway, in any case, we didn't need that legislation because I'm going to hark back to my sergeant from 1986, Sergeant Donald Blackhurst, bless his soul, passed away now. He was a good man. He had 29 years service when I joined. He joined in the 1950s, and he taught me, he was the epitome of those values. He was a rum sort. He'd been around the block a little bit. He'd been a detective in his time, and he'd had a few run. He was an interesting character. I loved him to bits. But he would talk to me about the very things that are actually legislated for now, that when you bring someone into custody, when you arrest them, treat them like a lord. When you bring them into custody, treat them like a king, young Brendan. He used to always call me young Brendan, because I was back then. It's 20, 21 years old. And he wanted me to evidence it. He had asked me, so, how did you get on with that prisoner? Not just in terms of legislation, the interview and all the formal stuff, but no, how did you get on with them? And he would talk about treating them like a lord, treating them like a king means treating them with respect, treating them responsibly, be fair in everything that you do. You've taken away this person's freedom. It's a big deal. So respect it. Respect them. They are someone's sister, someone's brother, someone's mother or father, or someone's son or daughter. I guarantee they're at least one of those. And so he was really big on this. And some of the reasons why, one of the reasons why was, look, where do you think we get criminal intelligence from? There's 4 or 5 different reasons we talked about. And I talk about this in the academy. Actually, I'm going to talk about this in the Ask Brendan Anything tomorrow. But one of them was where do you think we get criminal intelligence from, Brendan? Does it come from Mrs. Miggins, curtain twitching at 44 Acacia Avenue? No, it doesn't. It comes from people who are involved in criminality. And if you disrespect them, are they going to tell you about anything at all? No, they're going to tell you jack shit. If you don't treat them responsibly or fairly, you're not even going to get them cooperating in the interview. They'll probably do a dirty protest in their cell. And they're going to make your life difficult. Why? Because you made their life difficult. and you disrespected him, and you treated him without fairness and responsibility. And so he was big on that. And I remember he used to always ask me, how did you get on with that prisoner? How did you get on with that person you arrested? And he wanted to know how I'd embodied those sort of values that he's instilling in me. And then there was Inspector Good. Oh my goodness. He was about 8 feet tall. He didn't have a first name, by the way. He was just called Inspector Good. He's passed away now, bless his soul. You didn't talk to him unless he talked to you. And I remember once leading someone out of the custody office, charge office as it was often called back then, with a charge sheet. They'd been charged with something, I can't remember what it was. And the guy on the way out, before I opened the door, just said, well, thank you, PC O'Brien. Thank you. And then he walked off. And Inspector Good came up and went, Constable O'Brien, that man that's just been released, has he been charged with something? Yes, sir, he has. Terrified me. Yes, sir, he has. He's just thanked you. What was that all about? You haven't answered that question, Constable? I still remember it now. I'm like shaking in my boots. It's like, sir, I think he thanked me for the way he's been treated. And Inspector Good just looked at me, gave me that nod and that face. Good. Carry on. And he walked off. That's as good as it got from Inspector Good. That's like high praise indeed. I scuttled off into the sergeant's office and told Sergeant Blackhurst, and he was like, good praise indeed. Good praise indeed. He noticed you. He noticed that. And that's what he was looking for as well. But he was real old school inspector. I loved him to bits as well, but I don't think he had a first name. I think his first name was Inspector. Just like that was it. His first name was Inspector. Anyway, so another message that I picked up and I've passed on to all my officers along the way is, look, on top of all of those things, we're going to treat people with kindness and compassion. And this links back to the Pelian principle. So kindness and compassion. Hang on a minute. Let's just see where they are in the framework. Kindness and compassion. No, didn't think so. They're not in there. But when we treat people with kindness and compassion, we will get something back. We will get something back. I guarantee it. It's just the way the world works. It's the way life works. Might not be there and then. Might be another time. But we will get something back. We will get something back. Treat people with kindness and compassion, not just because you want something back, because it's just a human thing to do. And it links in with the Pelian principles. So Robert Peel talked about the role of a police officer is to offer the friendship to all, be a friend to all. There weren't exceptions. He didn't say, except for those people who commit sexual offences against children, or except for those people who commit acts of terrorism. He's like, all, everyone. Because at that moment when this person's arrested, sat in a cell on their own, they are the most vulnerable they'll ever be. And they may have no friends. Their family's disowned them, all their family have disowned them, all their friends have disowned them. They've got no one except you. You've got an opportunity to give them a gift which costs nothing, and it doesn't take much time, and it's not even a random act of kindness and compassion. It's an intentional act of kindness and compassion. And it will mean so much. It will mean so much. Where do you think as a neighbourhood team we got all of our criminal intelligence from? Like seriously, one of the things that we were famous for and good at, and that there is a letter from a Prime Minister saying how inspirational we were at doing it. I'll show you another day. That is a letter from a Prime Minister who visited, who said, "Dear Brendan, it was inspirational hearing about your team and your efforts to make Sale a safer place. Yours, Gordon." It was Prime Minister Gordon Brown. Yours, Gordon, dear Brendan. Like, that's why I framed it, because that's like freaking awesome, isn't it? But that's because we were just cleaning up organised criminality. Like, they had nowhere to go. And they just didn't understand how we managed to get so much intelligence. Well, it's because we were flipping them. Like 1 in 10 people who were involved in the OCG, we were able to flip them. When I say that, We'd turned them into informants, if not them, their family, if not them, their friends. We had so many covert human intelligence sources that we'd groomed and passed on to the source handling unit to be developed as a CHIS. We were getting so much intelligence and we didn't know what to do with it. But it was because we treated people with respect, and we treated them fairly, and we treated them with kindness and compassion. Just little things like, you know you're going to get recalled. We know you've got a little kiddie with your missus. How about we drive round, go and get your missus, bring her here, and you can have a little, like a little chat. Just like, give her a little cuddle before you get taken off, because you're going back for 6 months. You know it. It don't cost anything. Don't cost anything. And then later on, when they've been treated with such kindness and compassion, because it's the right thing to do, we'd send our intelligence officer in after the interview, after charge or not charged, or refused bail, or whatever it might be, or you're getting recalled, and it's perfectly legitimate to do so. This would go on the custody record. Intelligence visit by, I'm not going to mention his name, awesome officer. He knows who he is. Simon. I'm not going to mention his surname, but he was just an amazing intelligence officer. He would go in and he would ethically groom that individual to become a CHIS. And then we'd start testing the water with them. A little bit of intelligence about a drugs farm, a cannabis farm, a little bit of intelligence about someone who's dealing some heroin or crack or whatever. And then it build up to something bigger and bigger and bigger. So we were seizing firearms, we were seizing loaded firearms, caches of 10, 20,000 pounds and more. We were freezing bank accounts. It was just awesome. It was amazing. Why? Because respect, because fairness, because responsible towards others, because kindness and compassion. And it paid off. Like, I remember, look, I'll end on this. A little golden moment in my policing career. There I am, driving down the road in a marked vehicle, and I get flagged down. Like, dude flags me down, like that. And I'm like, oh God, what's this? So I get out and, yeah, can I help you at all? And he goes, you don't remember me, do you? And I'm like, no, give me a clue. And he told me his name and I went, oh God, I remember that name from somewhere. Where do I know you from? Oh, you lot were like locking me up all the time for this, that, the other. I was beating the shit out of my wife and domestic violence and our kids got taken off us and all the rest of it. And I'm like, yeah, I remember you now. How's it going? I've not heard from you for ages. Like, you're not even mentioned by my team anymore. How's it going? How's it going? Well, oh, I've had a shit day, boss. Oh, go on, tell me all about it. Yeah, I failed my gardening exam. I'm like, whoa, tell me more. Yeah, I'm at college, I'm doing a gardening course. Like, how's the family? Well, we're seeing the kids and the kids are spending a bit more time with us and I don't beat the shit out of my wife anymore and I'm not grafting anymore. Grafting is like slang for criminal activity. And I've got my shit together. Like, I'm not on drugs anymore. I still drink a lot, but, you know, F it. But I'm all right, I'm getting there. And I've gone back to college and my missus is dead pleased and she's looking at what she can do to improve herself. And yeah, social services are saying if it all goes well, we'll get our kids back full time. And I'm like in tears at this point. I'm thinking about it now, getting all emotional. Like, how freaking cool is that? And why? Because we treated him with kindness and compassion. And it made a difference. It made a difference to that one person. But more than that, like, it's made a difference to his partner and his kids. I'd like to think his kids have grown up in a better environment. I'd like to think they've grown up with some love wrapped around them now. So why kindness and compassion? Don't need to say anything else, do I? Like, it'll pay off one day. And it'll pay off with people who'll never thank you. Because if I'd not been driving down that road at that time, you wouldn't have flagged me down. I'd never have known that he'd failed his gardening exam. Wow. Anyway, I'll end on that. Hopefully useful for you folks. That was a longer live than I thought I was going to do. Anyway, if you'd like to find out more about our values and what we advocate for our clients, so that this isn't just about passing a recruitment process or getting promoted. This is about being the best officer you can be. Like, seriously, the best. Where you're the sort of officer that never says TJF. If you want to know if you don't know what that stands for, ask in the comments or message me. Anyway, I'll catch up with you soon. Take care. And if you're in the job, look after yourself and look after each other. I love you to bits for being in the job. If you're looking to join the job, then you're about to, well, I was going to say with luck, but there's no luck involved. It's practice, preparation, planning. That's what goes into it. Nail it. Get the best marks you can. Secure the best job in the world. Kudos to you. Goodbye, everyone. See you on the other side. Bye-bye for now.